Yeah, the sun's come out and it's right in my face. It's causing quite impressive snow melt. There's just great big chunks of ice and snow falling off buildings. It's kind of funny if it wasn't so dangerous. So behind me is Newbury Comics. I believe that this is the inspiration for Hubris Comics in Fallout 4, which is where they film the Silver Shroud, which is a character in the game, fictional character who has own radio and TV show and is something of a pastiche of Dick Tracy and oh god, that one that had Alec Baldwin in it, I can't remember. Anyway, may pop back here later for some geekware, of course, because you know, why the hell not. Yeah, this is Quincy Market, or behind Quincy Market, just behind Fanler Hall. Still haven't tracked down this cake fill, but as soon as I get it, I will send you all sorts of obscene food porn pictures. Just completed a circuit of Fanler Hall. I don't know if you can see up at the top the gilded grasshopper. Shem Down was the sculptor of this. How do I know? Well, it's on the side of the building, admittedly, but of course in Fallout 4 it may or may not be the clue to some secret treasure. I tell you what, following the Freedom Trail can be a bit difficult at times because the little trail just vanishes. A number of times I've gone off the beaten track because I just can't see where it's going. Okay, the snow doesn't help. Sometimes it is buried. Sigh. Anyway, coming up to Paul Revere's house. Paul Revere's house and museum. Paul Revere, of course, was the bloke, one if by land, two if by sea. He was the American patriot who warned the revolutionary leaders that the British were coming by hanging the light in the old church. I gather from history lessons, etc., this is a facsimile of his original house. I think he had something ridiculous like 16 kids, all in that tiny little thing. I mean, again, 18th century, don't know how many survived to adulthood, but 16 kids. Ouch. Although by I'd imagine 4th or 5th child, it was just, you know, well, throwing a hot dog down a hallway, to coin an old phrase. Not planning to go in today, might go in Monday perhaps. Today's walking the Freedom Trail. I think follow-up investigations later on. So this is it, it's the Old North Church, and somewhere underneath us the railroad will have their headquarters in about 300 years time. So here's the front end of the church. And they've kind of made a mistake because the Paul Revere statue is actually in front of a different church, even though in Fallout 4 it's in front of the Old North Church. Just panning around a bit. Again, Fallout 4 players, the attention to detail on some of the tenements around here, around this neck of the woods, it's quite good. Even the fire escapes, the shapes and size of the windows. Yeah, this almost could be running down downtown Boston 2287. Yeah, what more can you say to that? Just arrived at Cops Burial Ground, another cemetery. Again, I'll only film this brief interlude at the gate, otherwise videos off and cameras only. So that was Cops Hill Cemetery, not a cemetery for the more notable figures of history, but a cemetery which is more for the ordinary man, woman and child of Boston. Quite a lot of stonemasons were buried there, those who cut the tombstones, headstones of other graveyards, and a number of the Boston Tea Party participants are also buried there, which is why it's a stop on the Freedom Trail. There's a few a few black notable history types buried there. Those involved in the early attempts to abolish slavery in the late 18th centuries. Yeah, quite it's seeing where poor people and I guess the lower middle class were buried. I don't know, it seemed more poignant than where they're the richer, or because they have all these ornate tombs and all that, and obviously if they're particularly famous, then the city or guilds or even private enterprise will pay for headstones and headstone upkeep. But these people are very, very crude markers, very, very crude inscriptions on there. There's one that just says a name of a person and the date they died, paid by the letter, or just that's all they could afford. But that's not to say there aren't some very ornate headstones in there as well. It's just yeah, interesting stuff. And now onwards and upwards. I think I'm about to cross the Charles River over the bridge, head towards Bunker Hill. This bit of town's not all that interesting, I'm afraid. And in Fallout 4, you've got the back entrance to the railroad's headquarters, of course, but there's also, I think, just on the street behind me, the Pickman Gallery, which, although I've been dropping spoilers all over the place for these videos, I think if you play Fallout 4, or I've inspired you possibly to play the game, yeah, it's one of the best parts. You get a quest from Hancock to explore the Pickman Gallery, and you just have to see it for yourself. So that there was the Charleston Bridge, crossing over the wharf to, well, Charleston, where you won't necessarily see Al Capone dancing on top of a flagpole, but yes, this is where in Fallout again, where you'll find the USS Constitution, although it's parked on top of a building, on top of Weatherby Savings and Loan, at least initially. Let's not go into more spoilers on that one. And this is where the sort of city starts to peter out, again in the game anyway, and starts to give way to countryside and more of the weird and wonderful stuff that goes on here in Massachusetts. So of course I spent some time in Malta. Trust me, the boats and the yachts at the marina there did not look anything like this. If you look back through earlier videos, earlier photos, none of this covering up of the stuff. But what a difference a few degrees longitude makes. I hope it's longitude and not latitude. If not, well then I don't entirely prefer. So yes, continuing the Freedom Trail, going north to the USS Constitution and Bunker Hill.